Hello and welcome back to Globesweeper Hex Puzzler. So last time I said icosahedron was one of the hardest levels in the game, and for me it was when I was actually solving the levels and playing the game myself. I don't remember having any particular troubles with this next level, 3 stars, but when practicing this, I feel like this one introduces even more kind of complicated concepts, and it might be pretty rough to explain. I'll do my best. It's definitely gonna take longer than icosahedron, at least, so let's jump into it and check this one out. So this one has 3 star sections and then 1 triangle section that you have to do, and in this one, I usually say for line levels, press the X button to mark all of the lines. This one, you might not want to do that because it gets a little cluttered, as you can see, and it can be hard to keep track of. I think I might still do it. I guess I'll keep them off for now. It might be nice to just highlight some lines, but we'll see. It's hard to keep track of all the lines. But let's begin with this first star here. So to start with this one is all about figuring out what these line clues actually end up meaning. Like, we have a minimum 6 line here, for example, and one here. They both have, 9 tiles total. So they're essentially the same line, and we need to have a chain that is exactly 6 tiles in it. So we will be left with 3 tiles outside of those 6 that we mark. And because we only have 3 tiles remaining, we can't make another chain. We can't mark anything else because it would have to be in a chain of at least 6, and we can't have 2 chains of 6 in these lines. So because of that, we now know that this will only have 1 line of 6 within it. And how can you place that line? If we start here, then it can go all the way up to here with 3 spaces at the end. Or if we start at the latest point, it goes all the way up to here with 3 spaces at the end. And then it can shift along that line. But the key part here is these 3 tiles in the center of the 9 have to be marked, because if we remove, say, this tile, then we only have 5 tiles left here, and we can't make a 6th chain. So the 3 tiles in the center have to be marked, and same for this one, the 3 tiles in the center have to be marked to make that 6th chain. After that, we look at these 2 5 lines, not this one, that one, and similarly here, this one has 9 tiles again, but we need to have a 5 chain in this line. So after we have a 5 chain somewhere, we have 4 tiles remaining, and we can't fit in another 5 chain. So we know that we will only have 1 5 chain, and that's it. No other tiles will be marked in the line. So because of that, if this is the start of the 5 chain, if it starts as early as possible, it has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this tile has to be marked. So if it's at the earliest point, this is marked. If it's at the latest point, this is still marked. So regardless, we have to mark this tile, and then it can extend up to here, the 5 chain, or it could extend all the way over here. But this tile now can't be marked because it can't be reached by the 1 5 chain we know will be in this line. So that tile is removed. And then same for this line. If we start it at the earliest point, this tile still has to be marked to be the 5th tile in the chain. And then this tile cannot be reached by the 5 chain, so it has to be deleted. Now, because we deleted this tile, we can look at this line, which now only has 8 tiles remaining, 7 tiles remaining, actually. So we could have looked at that already, but yeah, now we have 7 tiles. We need to have a 5 chain, and once again, we don't have space to have another 5 chain, so we'll just have 1 chain of 5 in these 7 tiles, and this is the earliest point it can start, and it can go down to here with 2 gaps here at this side, and if it starts here, it'll have 2 gaps on this side. So we can mark these 3 tiles safely, and then it can either go here and here, or both of these, or both of these. Now that we've marked those, we can look at this line again. Since we got 1 more tile here, now it can still reach up to here, this 5 chain, but it can no longer reach this tile. Because we can only have a 5 chain in this line, it can at most go up to here, and this tile can be removed. That now removes a tile here, and this line needs to have a minimum 6 chain, so this tile now can't be marked either. And because we need a 6th chain here, if it starts at the earliest point here, we would have 4 tiles, and then we have to mark 5 and 6. And then one of these two will be marked eventually. Now, if we look at this line, the other 6, we now have this tile this tile marked. So because of that, we have to mark the next tile as well, because if this is the, this could be the earliest point, but if it is, then we would have 1, 2, and then this has to be marked for 3. So we get that, 5 tiles here. We could have this one marked, or we can have this one marked, but now we cannot have these 2 tiles marked. After that, now we look at this line here, because we removed these 2 tiles. So now this 5 line can at most start here, or earliest start here, and then it has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have to mark this tile regardless if it marks these 2, or only 1, or these 2 down here. So this tile is marked. Now, with that, now we can look at this line here. We've completed this, we could already look at this earlier. This line has a minimum 3 on both sides. In this case, we had enough tiles where we can have more than one chain. All in all, we had 8 tiles, so we could have had 1 3 chain, and then a gap, and then up to 4 tiles more. So we could have had a second 3 chain or a 4 chain, but we do need to have 1 3 chain exactly. But now that we have a 3 chain, we now can't add another separate 3 chain. We don't have space here, it will always be attached to this side, and we don't have space here. So we can't make a second 3 chain, which means this has to be the 3 chain that this line needs. So we can disconnect this 3 chain, and we don't have space to make another one in the remaining tiles, so all of them can be deleted at this point. We get this 4 here and mark these tiles. This line now needs a minimum of 3 in a chain, and we have 2 here. We have to mark this one for 3, and then we can not mark this tile. If we were to continue this line, we would get a 5 chain, but we do need to have a 3 chain in this line, and we wouldn't have enough space tiles remaining to make a separate 3 chain. So this one has to be disconnected, and then this tile now has to be part of a 3 chain, so we have to mark 2 and then 3. Now, this minimum 5, we have a tile here, so that has to be part of a 5 chain, so 1 and 2, and now our 5 chain is done, and we can delete these 2 tiles. That gives us this 6 line here, so we have 5 tiles, we have to mark 1 more, so that's marked. This line now only has, it has 2 tiles here, we have to make it a 3 chain, 2 tiles here, we have to make it a 3 chain. We can look at this line now, minimum 4, same deal here, where we could have had 1 4 chain, or we can have 2 4 chains before we knew anything about it, but now we can no longer connect up this center tile. If we were to mark the center tile, we would make a 5 chain, and then we don't have enough tiles remaining to make another 4 chain. So this one has to be disconnected, and then we have to make these 2 double tiles into 4 chains. So we have 2 here, we have to mark 3 and 4, and here 2, we have to mark 3 and 4. This 4 is done already, so those are deleted. This line has to have minimum 3 chains. We have 2 here, we have to make it a 3 chain. 2 here, we have to make it a 3 chain. Now this line, we have a 4 chain, we have to have a minimum 5, so this tile has to be marked, and we need to preserve the 5, so this tile is now deleted. This 5 tile here is now done, so that's deleted. This 5 line here has 5 tiles already, so this tile has to be deleted. And I think we can just look at the 7, we didn't even need to look at this. This 7 area now has 5, 6, and 7 tiles, so all of the remaining tiles have to be deleted, and we can mark this one for the 1. And then finally this one, I missed this one. Here we already have a 6 chain, so this tile is also deleted. So that's one of the stars. Now we move on to the second star, which in my opinion is probably the hardest one. So here, to start this one, we have to think about well, there's actually a number of starting points here, but I find the easiest way to start is looking at these 3 7 lines. All of these have 7 tiles in them, they all have to be in a chain of minimum 3, and they all have exactly 9 tiles. So all 3 lines are identical, exactly. And if we think about what we will need in this, and any of the lines, as I said, we have 7 tiles. We need to have one chain that is exactly 3, which means we have 4 tiles remaining on top of that. And those 4 tiles could be in another chain of 3, but that leaves us with 1 tile which can't be part of a 3 chain. So it can't be on its own, so it has to be part of another chain. So because of that, we will have 1 3 chain, and we will have 1 4 chain to mark all of the 7 tiles here. And because we need 1 gap between them, we have a 3 chain, a gap, and a 4 chain. That means we are using a total of 8 tiles out of the 9 available tiles in this line. I could have shown this in Paint, honestly, if you find that's easier to visualize, but I guess this is fine too. So let's say we have the 3 here in these tiles, then we would have to have a gap here, and then we could have the 4 here, and then a gap here, or we could have the 4 here and 2 gaps, or they could be flipped, you don't know. But the key point here is we only have 1 tile of margin or whatever, 1 tile we can delete, an extra tile. We need 8 out of the 9 tiles. So if we delete this tile, we can still fit a 3 and a 4, or a 4 and a 3. But if we delete more than 1 tile, we can no longer do that. So because of that, since we need minimum 3 chains, you can think about the second and third tiles on either side. The second tile here, if we were to remove this tile, what would happen? Then this minimum 3 could not have a tile here because that would only be a single tile. So if this tile is removed, then this tile also has to be removed, and then we get 2 holes, and we're left with only 7 tiles. And we would need to mark all 7, but we then don't have a 3 chain. Same with this one. If we remove the third tile here, then we have 2 tiles here, and they can't be part of a 3 chain. They can't make a 3 chain, which means we would have to delete 3 of them, and then we don't even have enough tiles left to mark all 7 tiles. So the second to last and the third to last tile on either side of all 3 of these lines have to be marked. None of them can be deleted. So we can mark these 2, these 2, these 2, these 2, this one, and this one. After that, we can look at this line, which you could have also started with, because this one is actually even simpler. This one has 8 tiles that we have to mark. We have to have a chain of 3, and all chains have to be a minimum of 3. And once again, we have 9 tiles. So this one is even more cramped. In this one, since we need to mark 8 tiles, we have to have a 3 chain, and then a gap, and then mark 5 more tiles. We will use all 9 tiles. So we have to have a 3 chain at the end here, a 3 chain at the end here, and then one of these 2 tiles will be a gap, and the center has to be marked as the final tile in the 5 chain that we will have for the 8th tile. So we have a 3 chain here, maybe a gap here, and then 5 more tiles marked, because we need to make an 8, or this could be the gap, and then 5 more tiles here to make the 8. So after that, we can look at this line. There's actually a lot of lines you can look at. That's kind of the confusing part about this level. There's too many things to look at once, I feel. But in this line, we have we need to mark exactly 3 tiles, and they need to be in a chain of 3, minimum 3, which means we have to have a 3 chain. And we already have 2 tiles, so the 3 chain will be completed using this tile or this tile. And these 2 tiles and these 2 tiles have to be deleted. And then this 2 is already done, so this tile is deleted, and we get that final tile here. Now, we can look here at this minimum 3 and the 7. We have 2 tiles here. We have to make it a minimum 3 chain, so that has to be marked. And I think we can leave that. Right here, we can look at this line as well. We have 6 tiles, and they need to be in a chain of minimum 3, but we have to have a 3 chain. So we will have 1 3 chain, and then we're left with 3 tiles that also have to be in a 3 chain. So, since we have a tile here, we have to make a chain of 3, and then we know that this will also be a chain of 3, so, we can only fit the 2 3 chains in here. So, like, this has to be marked, and then this can't be marked because then we would make a 6 chain, so that has to be disconnected, and this has to be the final tile for the second half, the second 3 chain. Now, at this point, we can look at this line, which needs a minimum 2 chain, but we need 6 tiles marked. So this one tile has to be marked here for a 2 chain. This single tile has to be marked here for a 2 chain. But then we could go on to a 4 chain here. We don't know yet, so we'll leave that for now. But now we've also marked this tile for this line, and we have all 8 tiles already marked, so this tile is now deleted. That in turn gives us a gap here, so this minimum 3 has to have this tile marked. And because we have 3 tiles marked here, we have the 3 chain. We know that this, we have 4 tiles remaining in this line, and we know it has to be in a 4 chain. So this tile now has to be marked, and then one of these 2 will be the final tile in the 4 chain. This line is already done here. We have 4 tiles marked in chains of 2, so we can just delete all of these. This 3 is done here, so they're gone, and this 4 needs 1 more tile here. That gives us the final tile here for the 7 line. Now we can look at this one. Again, this is pretty scatterbrained because you can just look at so many lines at any given time. Here we need a minimum 2, so we have 1 and 2. We have 1 and 2, and we need to mark 6 tiles total, so we didn't even need to think about the minimum 2. We just needed to mark all 6 tiles that were remaining. Now we can look at this one, this line for example. We have 4 tiles in chains of minimum 2. We have a 2 chain, so we have to have 1 more 2 chain, and we already have a tile here. So this tile will be marked, or this tile will be marked. And this tile cannot be marked at all, and we can remove it. After that, we can just look at this line here. We have 7 tiles total. We have to have a chain of 3. We already have a chain of 4, so this has to be a chain of 3, and we can't use this tile, then it connects up to just a 7 cluster. So this tile has to be marked to be the 3 chain that this line needs, and this line is now done, so these tiles are removed. Then after that, we look at this line as well. Kind of same deal here. We have a 4 chain. We have 2 tiles here. We have to have a separate 3 chain. So this tile can't be used, and this tile has to be marked to be a 3 chain. And then this is disconnected. Now that gives us... which lines do we even have left to think about? Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, that's why sometimes it's nice to have all of those up. Here, again, we need chains of minimum 2, and we have a single tile here, so we have to mark this tile. And now we have 6 tiles in this line, so this one is disconnected. Right here now, we already have 5 tiles, and we have a 2 chain, so this tile is gone. And with that, we now need to mark the final tile here, the 4th tile, and we only have 1 tile remaining. This 3 is now done, so that's gone. And then this line already has 5 tiles, which it needs, so this tile is removed. And that gives us a 3 that's already done as well. So there we go. Pretty scatterbrained and kind of hard to keep track of, but that was the second star, and in my opinion, the hardest one. Now this one, you can start by looking at these 2 6 lines here. So both of them need a minimum chain of 6, and we have 8 tiles in both of these lines. So, because we can only fit 1 6 chain in 8 tiles, we can again just think about the earliest point it can start is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 2 at the end here, and if it starts here, it would go all the way up to here with 2 at the end. So that's our flexibility, and we have to mark the 4 tiles in the center here. If any of those are disconnected, then we can't make a 6 chain anymore. Same for this one, the 4 center tiles have to be marked, and then 2 of these, or 2 of these, or these 2 rather, can be marked to make a 6 chain. After that, we can look at this line, which is a minimum 5 line. So if it were to start here at the earliest point, we would get 1, 2, 3, and then we still have to mark this for 4, so this one has to be marked. And then now we can only fit 1 5 chain in here, so this will be our 5 chain, and it can extend up to here, 4 and 5. So this tile is unreachable by it, we can delete that tile. At that point, we can look at this line, minimum 4, which has only 8 tiles. So again, we know that only 1 4 chain can be in this line. Since you have 8 tiles, if you have a 4 chain here, it would need to have a gap and then another 4 chain, and we can't fit that. So we have 2 tiles marked here already. They can reach at most up to here, so this tile is gone, and at most up to here, so this tile is gone. Now at that point, we can look at this line as well. Here we have a minimum 2 chain in both of the sides of the line. So we have to have a separate 2 chain somewhere. And where could that be? We have a 3 chain here. It can't be connected to the 3 chain, so these tiles are out of the question. We can't have it down here, because then it's again connected up to the 3. So the only place to have a separate 2 chain are these 2 tiles, and they have to be marked. And then we have to disconnect it from the other tiles. But now we have a 3 chain here. We could have a 4 chain, we could have a 5 chain, we don't know, so we have to leave that for now. Now, because we removed this tile, we once again look at the minimum 4 here, which can't use this tile because it's a single tile at this point, and then these 2 have to be connected up here to 3 and then 4. That gave us a tile in this 5 line here, so the 5 will either complete here or here and can't use this tile, so that one we can delete. Now, at this point, now we stop looking at the lines and we start looking at these area clues, specifically this 5, because we have 4 tiles marked out of the 5 in this entire area. So you can look at any of these lines, this one, or this one, or this one, doesn't matter. But let's start by looking at this line, for example. This line needs a 6 chain, so what would happen if we mark this tile? Then because we need to make a minimum 6, we would have to mark this tile as well, but this 5 already has 4 tiles, so then we would get 2 tiles here, and that's not possible. This tile cannot be marked because then we would need 6 tiles in this area. So that's removed, and then we can look at let's leave this for a bit. We could like mark this one right now, but yeah, let's just focus on the 5 area. So if we look at this one, I guess we can yeah, before we look at this, let's just think about this on its own. In this line, we have a minimum 4. Okay, hold on, this is bugging me. Let's just do this. We need a 6 chain here. It could start here. We would have 5 tiles, and then the final tile. This tile has to be marked as the 5th tile or the final tile. So that one we get, and then one of these 2 have to be marked. Now, let's think about this line here. So here, we have 9 tiles with a minimum 4. In this case, unlike this line, we have 9 tiles, so we could, in theory, have had 2 chains of 4 with a gap in the middle. But because we now have this tile marked in the center, we can't fit in more than 1 4 chain. If this 4 chain goes up here, then we at most can fit another 3 chain that isn't connected to it. So now we know that this tile will be in a 4 chain that is on its own in this line. There can't be any other chain in this line. So because of that, this 1 tile can at most reach up to here for 4 tiles, and not to this tile, or down to here and not down to this tile. It was kind of unnecessary, but now, if we think about the 5, it's a little easier to predict, or to think about when not having this tile. So now, if we think about the earliest point this 4 can start, if it were to start here, that means it has to go on to these 2 tiles as well, and that doesn't work for the 5, we only have 1 tile available. If it starts here, and then goes on to here, we once again place 2 tiles for the 5, that doesn't work. So this tile is the earliest point the 4 chain can start to fit with a 5 area. So these 2 tiles can already be deleted. And then we can look at this line here. We need a minimum of 2, so this tile can't be marked at this point at all. And we can now look at this one as well. If we once again open up the 5 area, in this line we need a minimum 3 chain. So let's just go from the bottom. Let's imagine if we place a tile here, then we would get a tile here, and 2 here, and 3 there. Once again giving 2 to this area of 5, so that doesn't work, we can delete this tile. If we were to mark this tile, then we have to mark this one and this one. That doesn't work for the 5, we can only mark 1 tile here, so this one can't be marked, and this one can't be marked, or we would have to mark this tile as well. So that is also gone. Now, this line here needs a minimum 3 chain, so this tile, single tile, can't be marked, we can delete it. We have a 1 tile here that has to go on to at least a 3 chain there. Now, this tile can't be marked, because if we were to mark this one as well, we would get a 5 chain, which is fine for the line, but we don't have enough room to make a separate 3 chain. So this one at this point have to be cut off, and then this single tile has to be made into a 3 chain with 2 and 3. Now, what do we do now? Now we can look at this line, which needs a 5 chain. We have 4, so we have to mark this tile right here. And we can look at this line here with a 4, since it can at the earliest point start here. It would go 1, 2, 3, and then this tile has to be marked, whether it starts here or here. So this one has to be marked, and then one of the edge tiles have to be marked. After that, we can look at this line here, for example. Actually, it's better to look at this one right now. So we have this minimum 3, which we deleted some tiles in. If the minimum 3 were to start here, then we would get 1, 2, 3, and it would connect up to the 4, and then we don't have enough room to make another 3 chain, so that's not possible. This tile can't be marked for the 3. And then because we have one tile here, we have to connect this tile up to make a minimum 3 chain, and at this point we can't add in any more tiles because we have to preserve the 1 3 chain that we can fit in here. So these 2 tiles are now gone as well. Now this 5 only has 1 tile remaining, so this has to be the final tile. And then this 6 chain has 5 tiles now. We need to make it a 6 chain, either using this tile or this tile, but this one cannot be marked and we can delete it. This line here needs minimum 2 chains, so this single tile can't be marked, we can delete that one, and this 1 tile has to be part of a 2 chain, so this tile has to be marked. That's all we can say there for now. But now we can look at this 7 area, which has 4, 5, and 6, and needs this final tile, 7. That now completes this 6 line here, so this tile is removed, and now we look at this 4, which has 3 tiles now, and we need to make a 4 chain, so this tile has to be marked. And that now in turn gives us a tile here for this minimum 2, so this tile also has to be marked to make a 2 chain. Now we look at the 8 area here, which has 2, 4, 6, 8 tiles, and this tile can no longer be marked, we can delete that tile. And then, finally, this line needs a 6 chain, we have 5, so this tile has to be marked. And then we look at the 9 here, which has 4 tiles, 9 tiles, and this tile cannot be marked. So there we go, that's that. Now the final area, this triangle, let me rotate it up, just because that's how I've practiced it. So in this one, I don't think this one is too hard. I think the the stars are quite a lot harder, honestly. This one you can also start in a number of ways, but let's just start looking at this 6 line, for example. Minimum 6, we have 8 tiles. We've seen this before. That means we have to mark the 4 center tiles here, because if any of these are disconnected, we can no longer make a 6 chain at all in this line. So the 6 chain will either go here, or one of each. Here we need a 4 chain, minimum 4, so the center tile has to be marked. If we were to delete the center tile, we only have 3 tiles here and 3 tiles here. So that is marked. At that point, we can look at this line, for example. We start looking at the diagonals. So if this minimum 4 were to start at the earliest point here, it would get 1, 2, 3, and then regardless, we have to mark this tile. If it starts here, if it starts here, or if it starts here, we have to mark this tile for the 4th tile. Then we can look at... I think we can look at this one already. So here we have a minimum 3, we have 2 tiles marked already. We need to make a 3 chain, and we can at this point only make 1 3 chain. Again, we had 7 tiles, similar to when we had a, whatever, it doesn't matter what it's similar to, but we have 7 tiles. We could have made 2 chains of minimum 3 if we had 3 here and a gap and then 3. But since we have this marked, we can now no longer add in a second 3 chain. So we have only 1 3 chain, and that will be all that this line has. So the 3 chain will be completed using this tile or this tile, and these tiles cannot be marked. This line of minimum 5 can at the earliest point start here, so it can have 1, 2, 3, and then we have to mark regardless 4 and 5. And we can only fit 1 5 in this area, so since we have 3 tiles here, it can at most go 4 and 5, and it can't reach this tile. Now at this point, we can look at this line, which has 3 tiles. We need to make it a minimum 4, and we can only fit 1 4 line in here. So it will be completed using this or this tile, and these edge tiles cannot be marked. Now at this point, okay, we can look at this line here. So in this line we have 6 tiles. We need to make a minimum 3 chain, which means we can only fit one 3 in. If we have one 3 chain, then we only have 3 tiles remaining, and we can't have a gap and then another 3 chain. So we will have one 3 chain, and it can reach up to here, or it could reach this and up to here. So this tile cannot be marked, we can delete this tile. And I just realized that was not the line I was supposed to look at, it was this one. Minimum 2, we have a single tile here, so this tile cannot be marked, we have to delete it. That gives us the minimum 4 here. It can at the earliest start here and get 1, 2, 3, and then this tile has to be marked regardless. And now we look at this 4. Once again, we had 9 tiles with a, we could have had a 4 chain with a gap in the middle and then a second 4 chain. But since we now have the middle tile marked, we know that we will only have one 4 chain, we can't fit in more than one. So the 4 chain will go up to here or up to here, and these 2 end tiles can no longer be marked. Then here in this line, this tile now can't be marked because we can only use one, we have to have a minimum 2 chain, and that's a single tile. We can look at this one, we can look at many things. So here, minimum 4, we have 3 tiles. We can finish it using this tile or this tile, so the edge tiles once again can't be marked. Now in this line once again, we can't use the single tile because it needs to be a minimum 2 chain, so that's gone. And at this point, we have to place a minimum 2 here because this line requires one chain that is exactly 2, so these are marked. That gives us a tile here for this minimum 3 chain, so we have to mark these 2 tiles at least to make a minimum 3. Now, here as well, this minimum 2 will have to have a 2 chain in these 3 tiles, so it has to use either these 2 tiles or these 2 tiles, so the center tile has to be marked regardless. That gave us the final tile here for this 4 chain, so this tile is now gone, and that gives us this 4 chain, which has to go on here, and these 2 tiles can no longer be marked. At this point, these 2 tiles are both minimum 2 lines, so these single tiles can no longer be marked. Now at that point, this 6 line here has 4 tiles, it could have 5, but then it needs to mark this tile for 6 regardless. At that point, this line here has 3 tiles marked, we could mark this one for 4, we could mark this one for 4, but this tile cannot be reached by the 4 chain, so that is deleted. And this 3 now needs this tile. Then at this point, this minimum 5 has 4 tiles. We could once again finish the 5 using this tile or this tile, but not this tile. Then this minimum 2 has 1 tile here. We have to mark this one to make it a minimum 2 chain. Oh yeah, right here. So this minimum 2 now doesn't have this tile, so we have to mark this tile to make it a 2 chain here. And at that point, we have a 3 chain here. We can't use this tile because we have to keep this at least having 1 chain of 2, so this tile is gone. And that gives us this line where we have to make this into a 3 chain, and this single tile cannot be marked. That now gave us this line, which needs a 4 chain, so this tile has to be marked. And at that point, we have this 4 chain done already, so this tile can no longer be marked. This line, right here. Yes, and this one is easier. Man, this is why I always have the lines on, because then I could keep track of which ones I have stuff left to look at, but whatever. Here, minimum 5, we already have a 5 chain, so this tile can no longer be marked. And in this line, we need a minimum 3 for the, for the minimum 3. We have a 5 chain here, and we have a 2 here, so this 2 has to be made into a 3 chain. And the only way to do that is to use this tile. If you mark this one, it would just be a massive line. So this one is marked, we have the minimum 3 chain, and we have to preserve it by disconnecting this tile. And this 2 is now done, so these 2 tiles are removed. And that gives us the final tiles in the 4 and the 6, so both of these are marked. Oh boy, yeah, that's one hell of a level. It's just kind of hard to keep track of, hard to explain. I personally feel like icosahedron was harder to actually figure out. It had more sneaky tricks to it. It's just 3 stars is kind of like, it makes your head swim. It's very convoluted and like cluttered. But yeah, that's that. Hope you enjoyed, hope that was helpful. I think next time we have a couple of relatively easy levels as far as I remember. I think 2 Chain, Starlink, Twin Links, and Cutout were all not too bad from my practice rounds. But we'll see. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!